All right, everybody, welcome back. Sam's Army Match Week 25. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to start with the Premier League, where we will talk about Ange's hot butt, still hot, Big Six versus the FA Cup, and Banter FC Championship preview coming up this weekend. Halftime will be a salary cap related weekly What If. Round the World will hit Champions League playoff preview and stoppage time with Ivan Toney's best bets and everyone's favorite segment, GOAWs. Now, time to welcome in this week's panel of beauty, starting with the less hungover Tweedle, Mr. Mitchell Goulet, a.k.a. Overtime Mitch, as my go-to resource for what the kids are up to online these days. My question for you this week, have you noticed any differences in or on TikTok ever since, Trump mercifully or magnanimously saved that godforsaken platform for us?
Firstly, he didn't do anything on TikTok. Chose to shut down and then posted a message thanking him for doing nothing in the first day of his presidency. But no, I have not noticed a difference at all. My algorithm's the exact same. The user interface is the exact same. And I think it has like 60 days left now on that 75-day extension. So we're going to do this all again in another 2 months. Let's just hedge this conversation until then.
All right. It's a fun conversation to have.
It is.
All right. Now the question of the day for Mikey Fowler, who has officially survived his first real official Philly sports riot, celebratory sports riot, championship riot. So this is next level. This wasn't just NFC championship riot. Also, you decided to actually participate in it. So we got to get the lowdown on sort of what this experience was like, highlights, lowlights, etc.
Did not participate. If the jury asks, there's no way I was there.
The evidence suggests otherwise.
It was awesome. Those guys are really fun. No, it was mayhem. My brain's all mushed. The party pretty much started at halftime around the city.
Yeah.
And it did not stop until about 3 a.m. So it was a hell of a time. Hope everyone was all right. I haven't looked and seen if anybody got hurt, but obviously.
I haven't seen any news. I'm sure it would be all over it if there were some, problems. I did see a lot of hijinks, including on your Instagram video. But yeah, hopefully everybody came home safe and is having a very, very hungover day today. That game, by the way, holy moly, that was the worst game I've watched in a while.
You're a Spurs fan.
I know, and that says a lot.
As a member of a different generation, I'm curious, what's your elevator thoughts on Kendrick?
Great question.
On Kendrick? My favorite thing is all the people on Twitter.
Nope, I don't want to hear about social media. I want to hear
hating on him or just their response to him. Which is people sort of, I assume, older or even more out of touch than I am, who are just like, who is this guy? Why is he on my television and all this sort of stuff? I enjoyed the people who are even more get off my lawn or yelling at clouds. I don't know. I liked his music. The A minor song that everybody knows, including myself, is that is the clever wordplay involved there. I give nothing but credit to. I don't really have anything else to say. Like he's it's not like I own all of his albums or anything like that, but I've enjoyed the from very afar the Kendrick versus Drake thing going on, and I just appreciate his linguistic abilities. He's clearly very gifted. So I say, yeah, bring it on. Let's get more of that. I enjoyed it.
All right.
I enjoyed it. All right. Now we will head to the Premier League, where we first got to run through some highlights and lowlights from this weekend's FA Cup fourth round action. And as this will probably come up, in fact, I know it'll come up later, no VAR is still involved at this point in the competition. So some of the big results from the weekend: Plymouth, mighty Plymouth, came up with a 1-0 win over Liverpool. And Aston Villa just kind of slowly mercilessly strangled the life out of Tottenham Hotspur 2-0. Leyton Orient took an early lead
2-1.
before. What's that?
2-1. You guys got one back at the buzzer.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Thank you. I basically turned my brain off at halftime as how that game was going on. Shout out to Matthias Tell. So Leyton Orient scored early against Manchester City. They could not hold on. They lost 2-1. United, speaking of late goals, United got a late winner from Harry Maguire. That was all sorts of controversial. We'll get into that. Other games, we saw Brighton beat Chelsea. They'll actually play each other again this weekend. But, for you, Mikey, what result? We're not going to go through all the gameplay and the X's and O's here, but there are some, interesting results and interesting storylines. So what stands out for you from the weekend?
FA Cup used to mean something more, I think, is what stands out to me.
Yep.
And I'm not just talking about Slot. Obviously, Slot's decision, Schlut or whatever you call him, his decision to field a weakened side is one thing. But the bench itself, giving guys fully a rest, that's a big deal. And I think a lot of teams you saw rotate. A lot of teams okay with not advancing in the cup. I think the more fixture congestion becomes a problem in sport, and it is a problem already, but I think we're finally seeing the crux of that, and that it comes out in the way of the cup. I don't think anybody gives a shit about the FA Cup anymore, except United's board, but that's it.
We do have to sort of put that in context of, by everybody, it's like the biggest clubs, the clubs that are actually facing the fixture congestion, whereas everybody else is like, this competition still means as much as it ever did. And everything like Plymouth, you can't tell anybody from that club right now that the FA Cup doesn't matter. But you're right. And that was the big talking point I had from the Liverpool game. Plymouth didn't beat Liverpool. They didn't beat the Liverpool that we know as basically the best team in Europe and perhaps the world right now. They beat a very much weakened Liverpool side. And as you said, Schlut decided to just go straight B team. He just gave guys day offs. And I think that's just kind of becoming the norm these days with the big clubs. And we've seen this already with MLS, right? And MLS has been, we've already given MLS a lot of tongue lashings for their behavior with the US Open Cup. It seems like the Big Six are doing the same thing. It's just without kind of saying it and without officially pulling their A team, their senior team away and playing their U23s. They are playing the U23s. They're just not actually saying it. So I don't know, Mitch, is this, first of all, I think we can all agree it's probably just going to keep going and become more of a thing. But what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, but I want to push back on one thing you said, that Plymouth didn't beat Liverpool. Plymouth did beat Liverpool. I think if Liverpool decide to put out a weakened side, or they decide to put out their U21s, they don't also get the asterisk of, we didn't really feel like trying. No, if you're in a competitive competition and you decide to put out a lineup, and then you lose, you've lost that game. You don't get the asterisk. So credit where it's due to Plymouth.
That's fair. That's fair.
They played that one really, really well. But I agree with everything else that you guys have said, that it just doesn't seem to mean much. And teams who are playing in multiple competitions at this stage of the season, something's got to give somewhere, and clearly it's the cup. So it sucks. I feel bad for the teams that are playing an FA Cup who's kind of biggest games of the seasons. This is your Plymouth Argyles, your Birmingham, your Blackburn Rovers, etc. It kind of cheapens their efforts to get there, but I'm sure they won't care if they're advancing to the next round. So good on them.
Yeah, it just kind of stinks. First of all, I would get rid of the League Cup tomorrow if we could. Just get rid of it, especially if they're going to have, if we're already complaining about fixture congestion, get rid of this manufactured trinket competition that nobody, asked for anyway.
I hate the League Cup.
I really do. I mean, I've been calling it the Make-Believe Cup for a decade at this point, ever since I had any kind of platform. But, just get rid of that. At least you would think that might open up a little bit, as far as sort of resources that big teams might throw it towards the FA Cup, because I do think the FA Cup means something. It's a cool competition. Everybody's involved. We're having the same competition. We're having the same discussion about US Open Cup. It's just a great competition. FA Cup has the advantage of everybody actually accepts, the mystique that goes along with it and the importance of it. Whereas the US Open Cup, it almost feels like MLS is kind of strangling it in its crib. to use a macabre metaphor. But yeah, I don't know. It just stinks. It stinks that the big clubs and our clubs are sort of involved with the cheapening of the competition. That sucks. Other results that one, I got to talk about Aston Villa, Tottenham Hotspur. So Aston Villa 2-1 winners. I mean, they were just. Oh, actually, before we get into this, let's do Kick It real quick. Shout out to our people at Kick It, the all-in-one soccer, tennis, kit, whatever you want to call it. Basically, I love soccer tennis. I've never actually played Kick It. I can't wait to do it when the weather turns. We're actually about to get snowed on here in Chicago, but when the weather turns, I can't wait to go outside and play some Kick It with Mitchell or Mikey or anybody. You don't actually have to be as good or bad as the people I just mentioned. You can play regardless of your skill level. Go get your Kick It at kickit.net, I believe it is, with the promo code SAM25, and get out there and play some fun soccer tennis. Shout out to our people over at Kick It. We love them. Now, the game I do have to talk about quickly, the Aston Villa beating of Tottenham Hotspur. So it was 2-1. It really did feel like a 2-0 game. Like we just had absolutely nothing going on. This team stinks right now. We've said the same thing about Tottenham for months. But one thing that I took away from this game, so Ange was getting shit on right, left, and center for when he was just going for it, right? And we were getting kind of battered at the back. Everybody's like, you just don't have the players. You especially don't have the defenders to play this way. So he has dialed it back a little bit. And we're playing a little bit more conservatively. We're not just sort of having our wingers bomb up the wings and, giving our defense a little bit of cover. And you know what's happening? We're losing games 2-0, 2-1 instead of, 4-3. That's just what happened. This team is not. I think that basically this game really crystallized it for me. He is in an absolutely no-win situation with the players that he has available, and getting rid of him would do us absolutely no good. Nobody is going to come in and turn this team into a top 10, especially top 8 European contender. Nobody with that lineup that's out there right now. I mean, there's guys that are playing incredibly well, like Bergvall, Archie Gray, Mikey Moore. We've got these guys, 17, 18-year-olds coming off the, out of the academy or, a Swedish academy and just balling out for us. And they are like leading this team. We got guys like Kulusevski and Son who are just not carrying their weight. But this team is just not good enough. Until we get guys like Van de Ven back, I've been saying this forever, Romero, etc., we're just not good enough. And I think getting my lesson here, my conclusion was this loss against Aston Villa, where we just brought absolutely nothing to the table going forward, despite having, we had Son out there. We're missing Solanke, we're missing Richarlison, we're missing James Maddison, we're missing a fair number of guys. We still have enough talent out there that we should source goals. Multiple goals against even in Aston Villa. We just didn't, and it's not that we didn't score, but we didn't create any chances. We sucked. We had nothing.
Son had a chance.
He did. He had the whole goal to shoot at.
Martinez stood on his head.
Yeah.
That game was open, and I don't know if you guys are just tired of losing the right way at this point, but
I think they're just tired, period. They came off. This is the same guys that are playing every Thursday and then every Sunday. They're just tired. I think that we are at a tipping point here from an injury perspective. I know the Van de Ven was like this close to actually playing. I think he's the one guy. When we get Van de Ven back, I am excited about what's happening with this team. This last week sucked. We got bounced from, the League Cup, which, as much as I don't like that competition, I might as well go ahead and win it if you're in it. We got bounced expectedly by Liverpool, who's just a better team than us. Then we're still in Europa. Then we lost in the FA Cup. So we lost 2 of our 3 competitions that actually matter at this point. Because let's be honest, we're not getting back in the Premier League most likely race for. I mean, I guess we get in the race for Europa, perhaps. But the 3 cups or 3 competitions we were in, and we had a chance to really do something. 2 of those are gone. We're down to 1. We're a Europa or bust team this season. And I think that we have a good chance in that competition. We're going to skip this playoff period, the playoff round right now, which is huge for us, and we ought to be healthy come the actual knockout. So I'm excited about our chances in Europa. I'm not exactly excited about where we are in the league, but hopefully we're getting healthy. What did I forget? Anything else you guys want to peanut gallery, take some shots?
Pretty sure you covered everything. I think I tuned out half of it. It's the same thing every week.
I know. What am I supposed to say here? Sorry, I wasn't.
By any chance?
What's that? Injured? We got a few injuries.
What you can do is you can put your fucking foot down and say we need to sell Son and we need a new guy in charge.
Son he's the captain, and I don't know if we've really talked about it on this program, but he has been incredibly underwhelming just across the board, both playing and as a leader. He is dropping the ball this season, big time. I don't know if people are calling him out or not. Mikey, I know you hate Son. This is a long-standing thing, so you love somebody's finally giving him some shit. He's been great for us. He's been an incredible guy, human being, and a great player. He's been just not good enough in the locker room and on the field this season, and it stinks.
14 more matches in the history of Son on your club. Enjoy them.
Is Son washed, Jonathan? Honestly, washed. This season he is washed. I'm not giving up on him because he's not that old. What is he, 31 maybe? I mean, he should still have some good years left. But
MLS time. Come on over here, pal.
Oh no, just get it together, son. Get it together. United Leicester. So this is the other one that we have to at least quickly talk about because this is where VAR came up big. So the end of the game, this was actually in stoppage time. United had already evened it up in the second half, but then they went and scored a game winner in the 90, +3 minute. Bruno found Harry Maguire at the back post on a free kick situation. If you look at the replay, it looked like Manchester United's entire team was not just a little bit offsides, but they were like a whole yard offsides. And I guess what they're benefiting from is there were so many people that were offsides. The linesman who was trying to look across the line probably had no idea where the last, Leicester player was. And Harry Maguire was one of the lesser offsides of the 8 people that were offsides. He was one of the lesser ones. I'm just trying to sort of grasp at straws here. It's a terrible miss by the linesman. I will say this, though. As a neutral who was watching that game, I absolutely loved it. It has nothing to do with Leicester. It has absolutely nothing to do with Manchester United. I loved the fact that we saw the goal go in. You looked at the linesman, and he was running back towards half field, and you could immediately celebrate. There's no holding your breath. Is this going to happen? Is this like a real goal? None of that. And that is what soccer is all about, that celebration, that immediate sort of just jubilation. I love that. And like VAR has killed a little bit of that from every single goal. And it was beautiful to just sort of, was I on over 2.5? Maybe. But I'm just saying, it was unbiased take here. I don't know. Anything to add about United, Leicester, or VAR, Mitchell?
I'll echo the just kind of purity in the celebration of the goal. There's something kind of liberating as a fan when you're able to watch a goal go in and you don't have to second guess whether it's going to count or not.
Yeah.
It's as a fan in the stadium or watching at home. And then 2, I want to briefly yell at you because it is offside.
Did I say offsides?
About 8 times.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
Yep.
I know very distinctly.
Offside.
Ugh.
He was not offsides.
Stupid ass American.
The entire United team were offside.
Stupid ass American. Well, if there's multiple, then maybe it becomes offsides.
Nope.
I know it's offside, and I know that very well, and I'm very conscious of that, especially online when I type it out. I guess my mouth. Typical.
I had a kid that used to work for me. Maybe he listens to this podcast. I don't know, but he would constantly do that in on publications. He would publish on Overtime FC and say offsides whenever he would talk about it, and I had to keep correcting him 6 months into his job. And after a while, I was just like, I'm done doing it. This is ridiculous.
Eventually, you had to fire him. Well, the thing about offsides is that the English people British people absolutely love to hammer Americans about that one, and fairly so, I guess. But it's, that's why I'm so conscious about it, and I'm very annoyed with myself if I kept saying offsides. Stupid American. All right.
Say something quickly. If you feel
Yes.
bad for Leicester, don't. They played Jordan Ayew 90 minutes. Nobody deserves to win.
I mean, I still felt bad for them. They've had a tough season, and they could have used, at least going to Pens and have a shot at moving on in a competition
we as a
that
collective need to be over the Ayus. No more Ayus.
You just have these specific groups of people who you absolutely despise. Sonny being one of them, the Ayus being another. I actually don't know where you're at on Maupe these days. There was a time when you hated him as well.
He's fine.
Mitchell, God, you look so much like him. It's crazy. All right. By the way, Plymouth Argyle, their big a reward for beating Liverpool is to go away to Manchester City next round. Now that does stink in terms of their odds of advancing, but that is going to be a big payday for them. So I'm sure that that's not so bad after all. Other matchups, Crystal Palace just won today, by the way, so they got matched up against Millwall. Newcastle Brighton is a kind of a sexy Premier League matchup. Aston Villa Cardiff City. So there's still a few lower level teams. Preston and Burnley play each other. So we'll have at least one non-Premier League team in the next round. So that's good. We'll move on though. So we don't have FPL to go through this week since we didn't actually have a weekend of results. But there is one game that actually still matters for FPL on week 24, which is the Merseyside Derby on Wednesday. So that's where we'll start the weekend preview this week before we get to the actual week. Merseyside Derby, a huge one for a lot of people in FPL. I will say that, myself included. Everton obviously come in. Well, they're Everton. Shout out to our guy Adam F. But Liverpool come in rested. So there's that as well. I don't know. Do we have anything else to say other than, this hasn't really felt like a serious derby. I feel like I'm taking Tyler's talking points right now, that this hasn't felt like a serious derby in a couple years because Everton hasn't really held up their end of the bargain. Anything to add, Mikey?
Yeah, the only team that hasn't been bit by the injury bug is Liverpool, and this statistically is not a fixture that they enjoy playing from a health perspective. So be on the lookout for something nasty this week. I think it's going to be very physical, and I think there's the chance that Everton really try to take a couple chunks out of those guys.
Pickford versus VVD.
Just saying, keep your eye out for some nasty tackles in this one.
Okay. All right. Adam makes a good point. Last Merseyside Derby at Goodison Park. Good shout. All right, now we're on to the weekend where we got some big ones. Manchester City hosting Newcastle and Fulham hosting Nottingham Forest are two games that stand out as relatively interesting. And then we have the Banter FC championship game between Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspur. So Anthony, by the way, had a question related to Tottenham, so I'll throw up there. Sammy, when does Levy admit Ange is not it and ends up sacking him? I am firmly in the camp of Ange in. I do not think that sacking him at this point helps us. I think that
same.
Mikey, I don't want to hear. I'm going to mute you. One more word out of you right now. I just think this team is just, we're not good, and we need players who are good. And when they come back and then we're not good, then he's got to go. But right now, what I've seen from him with the players that we want on the field, I'm excited about where we're going to go. And I may even start, I've said this before, I'm about to use that assistant coach chip in FPL because I think we're going to be winning games, and we're going to be winning it from the 13th position, which apparently is a good thing with this FPL assistant coach position chip. But of those three games that I just said, Newcastle City, Fulham, Nottingham Forest, and Banter FC Championship, or any of the other games, Mikey, what are you looking at with most interest this week?
For some reason, City Newcastle isn't moving me.
I think it's going to be a great game.
I hope so. I think, I don't know. I for some reason that's not jumping out to me. I think it's honestly it's Sunday. It's both of them on Sunday. I think Liverpool Wolves might be a little bit tighter than people think because of the midweek. I think it's a difficult, like a difficult opponent with Cunha and everything like that coming after a midweek physical match. And your match is everything for me. I really am so looking forward to betting every which way. This Spurs United game is going to be. I might make popcorn at 11:30 in the morning and sit down and watch the game.
Is this a Boston thing to say popcorn?
I say popcorn. Yeah,
it's popcorn.
I mean, listen, I'm not going to take shots at anybody's pronunciation of anything.
Yeah, what the fuck?
But popcorn, I've just heard like a handful of Bostonians use this. Mitch, you say?
Make some.
Yeah, popcorn. P-U-P.
Oh, it is a Boston thing. All right.
And hot dogs.
Yeah.
So Mitch, what are you looking at this weekend?
I think Fulham Forest has the potential to be a fun one, as well as the mentioned games. But Fulham Forest for me is one that I'll be keeping an eye on. I kind of agree that City Newcastle game feels stale to me, and I hope I'm proven wrong from like a betting perspective and a just gameplay perspective. But yeah, Fulham Forest is going to excite me. What's Forest's done recently? I feel like I haven't watched a Premier League game in ages now.
Well, they went through that really up and down roller coaster where they got absolutely spanked.
Yeah. Okay, so they're coming off 7-0 to Brighton. They play
Right.
Exeter City tomorrow. We're recording on a Monday. They play on Tuesday, and then they'll play again on Saturday. So they're coming off what should be a comfortable fixture in Exeter City, but who knows? Magic of the Cup. I like Forest in this one.
I like that should be a really good game. I'm excited for that game. Fulham obviously has been, they've been not your typical Fulham. Where are they in the table right now? 9th. I thought they were actually in 8th. Okay, so they're 9th. They've been up for everything. Anthony Robinson playing out of his mind. Mikey, any thoughts on that game?
He's well in for team of the season at this point. Like, yeah. Is there any fullback that's eclipsing him in that conversation right now?
Certainly not for Spurs.
No thoughts.
I'm surprised, Mikey, you're not more interested in the City Newcastle game.
City is not moving me lately. I just feel like I know what's coming. I mean, I like watching how shit Marmouche is. That's a lot of fun. I've been on that one for a while. But no, I'm not excited. I mean, it's going to be.
Can you offer any explanation to the Marmouche thing? Because he was so dynamic in Frankfurt. He was so fun to watch. He would carry the ball. He would just make runs in, and stale is the word I'll use again for City. Like, even as a neutral watch, if I'm watching 4 goals or if I'm watching just because City's on, it doesn't feel nearly as exciting as it did 12 months ago.
I got a theory on that, and that it's similar to the way that we had a lot of dynamic players like Pulisic and Wes McKennie and these guys come and play for the U.S. And they felt kind of like when they were playing under Berhalter, it just felt like they kind of felt stilted, like there just was something missing. I assume it's kind of the same thing with City and these guys coming in. He's been inundated with, sort of thoughts and concepts from Pep and trying to fit into that system and probably the pressure of doing so. It's probably a lot. And I feel like if there's any club, especially that you need to give them a little bit of time to sort of acclimate, it's got to be Manchester City. So I'm not really it's fun to listen. I always have fun throwing stones from my glass house, but Manchester City players like Marmouche was so good that I'm sure he's going to come good for them. Although I guess I would have said the same thing with Savinho, and has Savinho come good at this point?
He's good. I think he's a good player.
He is good. He was great with Girona.
I don't think he's lived up to his price tag.
Right. He is. So far, like I thought, I've seen some better performance from him lately, but over the course of the season, I assume it's the same kind of thing. He's getting thrown in there, and Pep's a big brain. He's always got new thoughts, new concepts, ways, tactics, and everything. It's probably tough, especially when they lost their most influential player, arguably early in the season. They got to change things up. All right, I guess we'll leave it there for the weekend review. I mean, we got Liverpool Wolves, should be an interesting one. Brighton Chelsea.
Rest of world's great this week too. I know we're gonna.
Yeah. Well, we haven't really typically done that, but you're like in the Bundesliga. I know Bayer's playing Bayern. Yeah, should be interesting. By the way, Tottenham United this weekend. I think Van de Ven is probably going to play, and I have high hopes. I think that we will batter them if we get Van de Ven back. I'm excited. Now, if Van de Ven comes back and he gets hurt, I'm just going to jump out of a window because the rest of the season's done. Just done at that point. So don't rush him back. But if he's ready, let's go batter those nothings for Manchester United. All right, we'll go to halftime now. So before we get to the weekly what if, which is an interesting one this week and topical and timely, got to give a shout out to our people over at Arc Designs. So I'm not going to do nearly as good a job as Tyler typically does. And by the way, Tyler would be here with us. He didn't jump out. He didn't skip out on us just because his team lost to Plymouth Argyle. He had a family emergency, a completely excused absence. So thoughts, to him and everything like that. But the Arc Designs, these people are doing incredible things with woodworking. And what did we talk about? It wasn't 3D printer, but it was 3D laser engraving. Exactly.
If you're in the Discord, you've seen a couple examples of it so far. It's laser engraved coasters, arcdesigns.com. I'm not going to be able to read the whole script here, Sam, so help me out. But they are really, really intricately designed coasters, and they have larger versions as well. Any stadium that you can dream of. They have a set number of stadiums for a shop on their website. But if you put in the order form, there's a notes section, and you say, hey, I would like Fenway Park. Hey, I would like the San Siro. They can do that for you. And, I mean, we've seen some close-up pictures of them from some folks in the Discord, and they are sick. They are really, really cool. Great.
They look great.
Great for yourself. You can mix and match stadiums. Arc Designs are nice enough to sponsor us and give a spot here. But it's a really, really cool product.
Yeah, I've seen some of the ones in the Discord that people have thrown in. I saw the ones that Tyler has a few, and that's how I think somebody actually gave it to him as a gift. And he's like, wow, this is awesome. And actually, they're just down the street from him in Ohio. So Arc Designs, ARCK designs.com. I think the promo code is the same, Sam25. So go check them out. It's just a great gift you can get for anybody who's a sports fan, and they have lots of non-sports stuff as well. So check them out. Now, halftime weekly what if. Now, this is, you will notice that this is from an announcement or from some news this past week where it was discussed that the players union is up in arms about a potential move by the Premier League to implement a salary cap. And so obviously American sports fans, who I think there's probably a lot of Americans listening here, we are well familiar with salary cap and what that means from basically every sport, in our universe here in the United States. But the Premier League this has obviously been, anathema to the Premier League, where it's just an absolute, arms race of who's going to spend more. Now, the good things about salary cap is you don't have this arms race, and you would think that the benefits would be increasing the competitive balance of the league, kind of like MLS. You can go from worst to first in a matter of one season for some teams. Whereas right now, the Premier League, how many teams actually have a chance to win it every season? 3, 4, 5, kind of, it's somewhere in that very small cadre of clubs. So the benefits are the increased competitiveness. Now, the risks here are if you put a salary cap in place, the talent could flow elsewhere. The guys who want to get paid that premium what Manchester City is paying their guys, and Liverpool is paying a couple of their guys. Chelsea is paying all their guys. Spurs are paying none of their guys. But if you want that sort of that next level upper echelon 1%ers type thing, they will go elsewhere. They'll go to Spain. They'll go to Germany. They'll go to Italy, where there is no salary cap. So that's kind of the benefits, the positives and the negatives. So, Mitch, what do you think on, the pluses and minuses? Where do we net out here with salary cap?
So I think any dramatic change would not be well received. If we just implemented a salary cap tomorrow, I don't think the Premier League has set up enough checks and balances to allow teams to actually adhere to that. And I don't think it would be beneficial for the player. Obviously, players getting paid less, but I don't think the competitiveness would even out for at least 5 years, right? Because you need a full kind of turnover of players for that actually to take effect and have an effect on the league. But I would argue that what makes the Premier League great is not the competitiveness of the league, it's the big teams in it. And that sounds like a really lame kind of populist answer to it, but it's true. Like, the Premier League's biggest 6 clubs are what bring fans and viewers to it. And I know that sounds super American of me to say, but what makes La Liga great? Is it Mallorca versus Las Palmas in the middle of the week? No, it's Real Madrid and it's Barcelona. Maybe for you, Mikey.
I was gonna say, Mikey, you have a different take on this.
But to bring that back to the Premier League, like, the bigger fixtures matter. If every team is equally as good as the next team, there's kind of, if everybody's super, nobody's super, to quote The Incredibles. You need teams that have more resources than others. It's a little capitalist of me, but the market needs winners and losers. And if there's perennial winners, they will fall off after some point. Manchester United, a historic and heritage club, are in 13th right now. Nottingham Forest, who are Champions League winners, to be fair, but are not necessarily known as a big 6 club, are in 3rd. So that parity exists. It's just, I don't think implementing a salary cap would increase that parity or even level the playing field. I think it would just cause more teams to get creative about breaking those rules.
That's a fair shout, since we don't know how that 115 charges situation is going to end up here. Mikey, any thoughts?
No, I think that there's no way to implement this. Spain does something with promoted clubs and relegated clubs that I think keeps teams from getting great. And I think if you have investment and you are, a club that's looking to take a jump, there shouldn't be anything in the way. I think the free market, as Mitch alluded to, is what we like about it. So keep the dream alive that your team's going to have a big takeover and all of a sudden you can sign massive players. This isn't going to happen.
Adam actually makes an interesting question. He's like, how would a salary cap work with promotion and relegation? Get relegated and immediately have to shed wages to meet a lower cap.
You already do.
Right. They do have that built into a lot of contracts, that if they go down to the championship, their wages, get cut to, X number. So I assume that that's something they can deal with. But yeah, that is a complication that will have to be taken into consideration. All right. Well, something to watch. The players' union is vehemently against it, which is interesting. I mean, it makes sense, right? They just want more money for their union members. But yeah, I mean, the competitive, it does, like, something does feel broken about the Premier League when only a certain number of teams have a chance to actually win it. But at the same time, it's an interesting year to sort of make this argument when we got Liverpool, who, yes, they are near the top, but they're not at the top of spending. And then you got Arsenal also near the top, Nottingham Forest, who, yeah, they're a recent big spender, at least in terms of transfers, but they're not in the universe of Chelsea and Manchester City, who they're right ahead of. So interesting year to make that argument right now. We will move on to Round the World. So we'll start with Champions League, and then I'll give Mikey a chance to maybe throw out some rest of world games because it's a big week in that sense. But we'll start with Champions League, where we have the first ever playoff to get into the actual knockouts of the Champions League this year. And so remember, this is a home and home setup. So we got 8 matchups, and we will get that will line up the other 8 to be in the round of 16, where we have the top 8. They're there. And now we got, numbers 9 through 24 playing each other in a home and home over the course of the next few weeks. Next 2 weeks, in fact. So we'll start this week. The biggest one, everybody's already talking about it, is Manchester City hosting Real Madrid on Wednesday. Or no, that's actually Tuesday. Excuse me. So that's one of the first games. Thankfully they staggered them, so we're back to 11. We got some 11:45 games. I love that. I'm talking as a listener or as a resident of the central time zone here. We got 11:45 games and we got 2 p.m. games. The biggest one, of course, is Tuesday, Manchester City hosting Real Madrid. There's some games that don't look very balanced. You got like Celtic hosting Bayern. Obviously, Bayern's going to come in heavy favorites in that one. There's some interesting. We got all France matchup. PSG visiting Titty on Tuesday. That's the 11:45 a.m. game. Ought to be an interesting one. Mitchell, what game are you looking at?
Benfica, Monaco. Sorry, Benfica, Monaco. Both of those teams are quite fun. I do like calling them Titty, like Man Titty. That seems fun. I think I'm gonna try to get that going. Did you come up with that?
Me?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like Monaco, Benfica from a betting perspective mostly, but yeah, Monaco's a fun team.
Okay. Manchester City, who Mikey is not enamored with and not excited about. Are you excited about that matchup with Man City?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I like watching Madrid. It's the game right below it if you're on FOTMob. Sporting hosting Dortmund. I would like everybody to tune in and see just how bad Borussia Dortmund is. I've watched them plenty, and I think they're going to get spanked like 4-0.
You've been banging the drum on Dortmund's crappiness for quite a while now.
If Gyökeres starts when the lineups come out, I'm laddering him up to 4 goals.
They are, to be fair, they're in 11th place right now. And I was following the game kind of closely this weekend where they lost to Stuttgart. They were actually at home and they lost to Stuttgart. Yeah, and Stuttgart isn't having a very good season either, are they? Oh, they're in 5th, not bad. Okay, well, there's some good matchups there. Club Brugge and Atalanta, is interesting. Feyenoord and Milan. So I know we have at least one, maybe multiple Milan fans.
Santi Jimenez homecoming.
Exactly. He had just transferred from Feyenoord to Milan, and now they're heading right back. Milan's heading back to Feyenoord for the game. Anthony said, as for my club, we are enjoying the vibes of Pulley dropping 2 assists and Santi scoring a great goal to get his first for Milan against Empoli. And I like our chances versus Feyenoord in the midweek in Champions League. So, yes, that will be an interesting one. Obviously, there's a lot of CONCACAF eyes will be on Milan, even more than were on it before. Now that we got Yunus Musa and Christian Pulisic and Santi Jimenez. So should be an interesting one. Now we can open it up to the rest of the world here. Mikey, what are the games that you got on your radar?
Couple quick ones. So Burnley play midweek, only notable because they're going for their 10th consecutive clean sheet in the championship, which is absurd.
How many of those have been draws?
Almost all of them.
Yeah, they haven't won a lot of these games. That's a great one. I think just keep an eye on it. You don't want to watch that because that's a waste of your time. It's interesting, by the way. I'll point this out. Stade de Brest play Wednesday, and then Liga scheduled them on Friday.
Did they change it, or are they keeping it as
Tuesday and Friday? Yeah, they're staying on Friday. Oh. So I think that's very funny. I just wanted to point that out. Leverkusen hosting Munich on Saturday, the late standalone 12:30. Watch that instead of Palace Everton, please.
Oh yeah.
And then 2 great games in Serie A this weekend, with Lazio hosting Napoli, who dropped points on the weekend and are now getting chased by Inter, who are going away to Juventus on Sunday. So those are 2 really, really interesting ones. So that's it's gonna be a fun weekend, I think. And then obviously, if we don't talk until then, next Monday, Leeds hosts Sunderland in a potential promotion fight. So there's a lot of stuff to watch outside of England. You bet your ass that's what I'll be doing.
Or outside of the Premier League anyway, because you're right.
Yeah.
Championship is
Sorry,
quite
yeah.
an interesting battle. I did a quick championship check last week, and there are these 4 teams that have clearly sort of separated themselves from the pack in the championship. Burnley somehow, even though they don't win any games, they don't lose any games either. They don't give up
draws.
any goals, which is insane. But Burnley's in 3rd right now, 2 points ahead of Sunderland. And then Leeds are up top, followed by Sheffield United. So it's an interesting battle in the championship. All right, we will now head to stoppage time, where, of course, we got the hat. We're going searching for goals. Last week was not a banner week, I'll be honest, for Ivan Toney's best bets. The overtrain, we were 2-3. And one of the wins was one of those wins that you don't feel really good about. The odds weren't great on my Luxembourg, Swift, Hesperange, and U.S. Hoster win. They did score 3 goals. They really, I really would have liked to see 4 goals out of that game. But technically that's a win. So 2-3 on the week. We're going to do better. We're going to do much better this week. I feel good about these games. So 1 over per day, Wednesday through Sunday, overtrain, 5-a-side best bets. We're going to start on Wednesday, where we will go to the Champions League, but not UEFA. We're going to the Asian Champions League, where Yokohama F. Marinos are hosting Shanghai Shenhua from China. That one will absolutely go over very early on Wednesday morning. Thursday, we're going to the Europa League, although not to Tottenham Hotspur, because we're not playing. AZ Alkmaar is hosting Galatasaray in the first leg. First leg makes me a little nervous, but I do think that AZ Alkmaar are not going to want to go back to Galatasaray and needing goals, so they will probably go for it at home on Thursday. Friday, the Danish Super League is back, so we're going Brøndby hosting Viborg. Viborg has been an absolute all-star for overs. Saturday, this was a tough one. I had 2 that I was weighing heavily. Both very good games. Both should be very interesting. I'm excited about both of them. I'm going to go with City hosting Newcastle, which I think probably has 4 or 5 goals in it. I actually think that Leverkusen and Bayern also has a ton of goals in it, but my official pick is going to be Newcastle visiting City. And then finally, on Sunday, we are going to the Turkish League, Fenerbahce hosting Kasim Pasha. There we go. 1 a day, Wednesday through Sunday. Let's go get rich. All right, Mitchell, what do you got for us on Ivan Toney's best bet?
All of these are going to be on Wednesday. I like Monaco, Benfica over 2.5, like I already mentioned earlier. I like AC Milan money line against Feyenoord. Feyenoord just fired their coach today ahead of a Champions League fixture.
Whole different team.
Yeah, and they're haven't appointed anybody new as of like 3 hours ago. So they're still on the search for somebody that's going to coach their team in a Champions League playoff in the midweek. So I don't have a ton of faith in them. And then Liverpool over 1.5 goals. Not necessarily a -1.5 spread because I think Everton will give them a good game. But put all those together, plus 460.
All right. Nice. Yes. So Brian Prisky was fired from Feyenoord. He just started with them this summer. He replaced our guy Arne Sloot. Did not going well, I guess. Mikey, what do you got in Ivan Toney's best bet?
So I have to announce to the group that they've officially market corrected Nico Paz. His numbers have been cut, so he's no longer.
You were loving those.
I mean, I made so much money on him. So I have to find a new guy, right? And what I'd like to point out is a Champions League fixture on Wednesday that everybody should be tuning into. It's the game's on its own. You guys are going to get to know one of my favorite shots on target bettors. And his name, I have to make sure I get it correctly, and I want to give you the odds, is Christos Zolis, Tzolis. He plays for Club Brugge. Right now, the 2 shots number is at plus 430. I'm going to take him 2, I'm going to take him 3, and I'm going to take him 4. And he's going to jack him up. I like betting. So here's a little trick. It's a 2-leg fixture. When the better team is on the road first, the other team just jacks it up. So I'm going to bet every home slight dog players of theirs to just pepper the frame. So he's my number 1. Really, really excited for that. And then if you're looking for something else, on Thursday in the Conference League, Betis is hosting Ghent, and Isco's back. Isco's a big guy, probably one of my favorite players of all time. I like the way he plays, and I'm going to take him to assist. So I'm going to put Solis and Isco together, and I'm going to profit. You guys can do the same.
There we go. The king of the individual bets, Mikey Fowler.
I got smoked today in Osasuna, so I have to make it back.
Don't say that. I was just about to pump you up and give everybody the Patreon spiel.
Took my whole wallet today.
You got to get on the Sam's Army Patreon, because then you get access to the Sam's Army Discord, where Mikey is talking about his individual bets basically 24/7 every day. And he's not alone. There are plenty of other individual bettors who are always talking about that. And you got glory hunting over bettors like myself, always talking about games, etc., etc. So get on Sam's Army Patreon if you're not on there. We got bonus episodes. You got Tommy talking tactics, blogs, and of course the access to the Discord. All right. And by the way, one little footnote on the Feyenoord firing their manager. They did that after a win. They won this weekend 3-0, and they fired him. So that was their first win in 5 league games, so I guess there's that. And also, I think they had just got knocked out of the cup. So obviously, things were not going great, but it's interesting that they waited till after a win and right before a huge Champions League game. Anyway, all right, we'll move on to everybody's favorite segment, GOAWs. All right, I got one. I got an honorable mention, and I only got one. So I'm just praying you guys don't take my guy this time. I'll hold my breath and cross my fingers. But Mitch, why don't you go first on this week's GOA?
I doubt I'm taking yours. So I'm going to swing this into a potential job opportunity for myself and you two if you guys would like to join me.
Ooh.
My GOA this week is Jamie Donnelly, the Leyton Orient player who hit that ball so sweetly from just inside the halfway line, hit the crossbar, hit the back of Ortega, and went in. And he's my GOA because he was not credited with that goal. It officially goes down as an own goal on Ortega, and that goal will be forever lost in the records as an own goal. Jamie, Leyton Orient fans will remember that goal very fondly. Jamie Donnelly himself will remember that goal, but officially it's an own goal. So where employment comes into play here, I would like to head a committee that oversees subjective changes to statistics like that. Mm-hmm. That if after a game, there's a pretty consensus agreement that, hey, man, he should just be credited with that goal. Like, what are we doing here, given that as an own goal to Ortega? This could have betting implications as well, that if you felt you were hard done by a shot on target, for example, or, a corner kick that should have been a goal kick, this or that, we'll work out the specifics. But I think I should head a committee that oversees subjective stats changes like that. And my first order of business, yep, Mikey, Sam, you're happy to join me. My first order of business is to officially award that goal to Jamie Donnelly. So he's my GOA this week.
Okay. I like it. There's obviously arguments to be made against it. The fact that it wasn't technically a shot on goal, which Mikey obviously would argue.
Why? What is the devil's advocate angle here? Why do you hate beautiful goals like that?
Again, no, it's really not about that. It's not about that. It's more about the fact if you shoot and there's no goalkeeper, if you shoot and it doesn't go in the goal, then it wasn't a shot on goal. It wasn't. That's my just sort of my spiel on it. I like this very specific case with the Jamie Donnelly. I'm 100% on board. We'll make exceptions to every rule, and this would be one where I would sign off on it and be like, yeah, he deserves that goal. Okay. But I'm just giving my spiel. Mikey, I know he vehemently disagrees with me and hates me for saying this. But who's your goal this week, Mikey?
It's a good and a bad one. So it's Football Manager.
Yeah.
They initially bumped the release. By the way, the season that is almost over, the season that has 14 games remaining in the Premier League, the game has not come out for this year yet. They delayed it until March, and then they just announced that they made the decision to cancel it for this season and come out with a new one next season. So a couple things. One, correct call, because it saved me $60 that I would have paid and then hated myself for. Two, focus on making the next one, actually worth playing and win the audience back. But yeah, I just don't understand where this went wrong. It's not a complex game. It is not. I mean, I don't know much about engineering, but it's not exactly fucking blowing me away with the graphics. I'll tell you that much. A lot of players like myself opt to watch it with dots playing, so it's like I don't really know what more there is to do. It's a beautiful game that has been around for a long, long time, and I am very upset with the fact that they fucked this up so badly, but I am giving them credit for making the decision to can this year and go for next. So that's my goal.
Okay, fair. As a non-Football Manager playing person, I did see that news. Yeah, I know. not that anybody's surprised. But yeah, I saw that news. I was like, wait, they haven't even come out with the game so far this year. I mean, what are we doing here? All right, but they did save you money. So good and bad there. Good and bad. Which you can go blow on your Nico Paz bets this weekend.
No more Nico Paz.
So you're just not betting him at all now that the numbers have...
It's not right. Yeah,
all right.
Now it's down.
All right. So my Goa honorable mention is Neymar's testicles, which had a lot of action in the last couple of years, and his first touch back with his boyhood club Santos was getting nailed directly in the nuts. So that stinks. Unfortunate turn of events, but I have seen a lot of memes and videos and pictures of sort of the homecoming, and I'm kind of a sucker for the players coming back to their home club, be it Gareth Bale or Harry Kane in the future. I do see I have a soft spot in my cold black heart for that sort of move. My actual goal, though, Ignacio Abate, who a lot of people will, including Anthony in the chat, Milan fan, a lot of people will remember him as a Serie A player. He played for the for the Italian national team, for the Azzurre for years. Sort of a hard dude, defender. He is now the coach for a Serie C team. So that's the third division in Italy. Ternana Calcio is the club. So he got fired. I think it was on a Thursday night. The chairman called him in and fired him. And this was probably at 5:00 in the afternoon or something like that. And the reason they fired him was because Abate refused to put the chairman's son on the game day roster. He's just like, nah, we're not doing that. And they went out and played. This Ternana team is actually good. They're in second place in their group. There's several groups in Serie C. They are in second place, so a good position to get to advance to get promoted to Serie B. But the chairman fired him on Thursday at say 5:00. Well, then Thursday at 8:00, the players, all of them, came to the club and said, "No, you're rehiring him. You're bringing him back, or like we're quitting." And so the chairman, the very next morning, took it all back. He's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry. I guess you can come back. We'll rehire you. You're still our coach." What a strange turn of events. Like Serie C and B and like Italian lower level football is just, it sets my heart aflutter with all the just drama and stuff like this that goes on. So shout out to Ternana Calcio and Ignacio Abate, who has done the opposite of lose the locker room. Clearly, those players are, ready to go to war for him. or give up their jobs. So shout out to them. Just a cool little story. Hopefully they bounce up to Serie B, and then who knows what happens. So shout out to Ternana and Ignacio Abate. And that's all we got this week. Let's see if I missed anything in the chat. Sweatiest FIFA running right back for years. Yes. Well said, Steve. And Abate is a club hero for us at Milan. Alessandro Nesta just got rehired by Monza after getting sacked in December. Anthony, one of our resident Serie A experts, points out. Thank you for that, Anthony. That's all we got. Thank you, everybody. Shout out to Tyler. Hope everything's, thoughts are with him and his family. Mitch, Mikey, you guys are beautiful. I love you. And Tommy will be back soon. Everybody who's listening, thank you. If you're not on the Patreon, get on there right now. And we will see you guys bigger, better, faster, stronger next week. 1 hour on the dot. Almost. A couple seconds long.
Easy.
Am I